Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. Thank you. Everyone's a fan of something, and we have got something for every fan, and it is Tuesday, one of my favorite days of the week because it's recap day. We have so much to catch up on, so much so that I made a list. I know it was a busy weekend if I have to make a list. Like that's sort of my, okay, so how busy of a weekend was it? And then I start writing, and then I come up with this. Look at the list. It's packed. It's action-packed with stuff, and I couldn't be more excited because we have not only an action-packed schedule as far as everything that went on over the weekend, we also have a fantastic guest for you this evening. I was going to have him be on tomorrow's, but we had a scheduling conflict with another guest that was going to be on for today, so I said, we'll just bump it. Tuesday is a great day anyway, so we are up and running, and we are going to have that great guest on tonight's episode. So you guys get a little bit of a fan show treat, impromptu, if you will. But man, it is June. It is June the 4th. We are already in June, the first week. We are officially midway through yet another calendar year. Where does the time go? I don't know. May was crazy. It was chaos. And we talked about that on the last episode of May. It was here, and then it was gone. Just poof. The blink of an eye, like some other things that were here, and then they were gone before we knew it. So, June is going to be another great month because it means that we are officially in the home stretch of the IFL season. We have just a few weeks left. It looks like we know who is going to be in the postseason, save for a couple of spots, and that's good. We didn't want to know midway through the season like we did last year. We don't want that as fans. We want to be edge of our seat all the way up until the last week of the regular season. And I know, I don't speak for everyone. Probably Tucson Sugar Skulls fans, Quad City Steamwheelers fans, you guys are sweating because you're not sure. Even Nebraska Danger fans, you don't know what's going to happen. You're hoping for one of those playoff spots. There are 2 left, and there are 3 teams in the hunt. So one of you will go home. And you will not have a postseason. This is the way football works. It's the way sports works, which there is a lot to cover in the world of sports. And I do appreciate all of you for joining in on the Facebook Live here. Looks like we have the wife. Hello, Mrs. Fan Show. I love you. Mrs. Fan Show, Brandy's watching. Brandon Suarez. He says, between Nebraska, Tucson, and QC, which 2 do I have advancing? That is tough. Because a few weeks ago, it wasn't an official episode. I was just checking in while I was in Virginia Beach, and I said, if you look at the schedule, Quad City's got probably the most generous schedule as far as the teams that still have a chance to get in. Tucson had the most unforgiving schedule, and Nebraska was kind of that team right in the middle there. I knew Green Bay was going to lock up a playoff spot. I thought they were going to do it a little bit ago, but they have, which I'm getting ahead of myself. That's for headlines. Let's get to it. All right, headlines for June the 4th. And headlines, of course, brought to you by Dynamite Enterprises. They want to customize your world, Fan Nation, and you can have them make really anything that you want. They could make you cool little custom trophies for your event, whether it's an office party, a congratulations, a little game that you have, whatever the case may be, promotional, marketing, or otherwise, they can do it for you. In fact, they are the ones who made my tablecloth that I took with me to Lilac City Comic-Con this last weekend, which was a great event. And it's a professional look that I wanted for the show. In fact, they made these Fan Show Robotics Divisions t-shirts, and I'm wearing this one because BattleBots is premiering this Friday. I mean, there's so much going on, And if you have a lot going on for yourself, for your business, or for whatever, a charity event, then Dynamite Enterprises can hook you up with whatever you need. You need to either go to their website, dynamiteenterprises.com, or reach out to Ethan directly, Ethan at dynamiteenterprises.com, and say, hey, what do you think about this idea? Or, hey, I'd like to do this. What do you think? And he'll be like, we can do it. I already know he's going to say that we can do it because they do amazing work. So go and hit up Dynamite Enterprises because they want to customize your world, and they can do so in the form of many, many things. So headlines. Okay, here we go. And you guys are more than welcome to chime in as we get through today's headlines. So first and foremost, we have that congratulations, Green Bay Blizzard. You guys clinched a playoff berth for the 2019 IFL season. And right now, their season's not over yet. Some teams that clinch a playoff spot, they might rest their starters. The season's not over for them yet. They are playing for a home playoff game because Arizona also won, and so they have not only locked up a playoff berth, but they have also locked in a home playoff game, which, because of their record, which is undefeated, they have locked up hosting the second round, which will be the conference championship for that side of the league. So Arizona sitting pretty right now. They could rest their starters for the remainder of the season, and they could take 2 losses and still be just fine. I don't know if they will. That doesn't speak very Kevin Guy to me. I think Kevin Guy is one of those individuals that if you're healthy, you're playing. Plain and simple. But that's because you don't want them to get rust. You don't want them to get out of sync. They're in a great sync right now, Arizona Rattlers, and there's no denying that. And let's see here. So, also, they won by shutting out Cedar Rapids. That was ugly. It really was. I'll be the first to tell you that was an ugly game. There's certain people in certain positions in this league that I don't understand why they are. And Cedar Rapids is one place where there's an individual in a position that I don't understand, because last year the team that he was with for half the season didn't do very well either. And at some point you have to quit retreading the same failed experiments and bring in some fresh looks, some new personalities, breathe new life into your team, into the league. And that's what I would say Cedar Rapids needs to do. Now, I'm sorry for any fans or people close to this individual that feel upset by my comments, but your team has won 1 game all season. And they just got shut out this last weekend, granted by the number 1 team in the league, the Arizona Rattlers. However, this was the first time that there was a shutout since Cedar Rapids shut out the Bemidji Axemen back in 2010. So I guess what goes around comes around. I don't know. Look, whatever makes you sleep better at night about this situation in Cedar Rapids, then go for it. But at a certain point as a fan, you have to be like, something's got to give. Something needs to change. And I think it starts from the top. Not the ownership, because we have already had the rebrand and the new ownership. You just need to bring in a fresh look, a new personality, a new identity of your Cedar Rapids River Kings. And that's what I would spend the offseason doing, is looking at eligible candidates. And even if they're not the most experienced, who do you think offers the most? I mean, it's a very youthful league, a youthful sport, right? Guys that are hungry, wanting to get to the next level. Find yourself a coach that's hungry, that wants to get to that next level, and in doing so is going to elevate your team and talent to that next level. And then he'll leave you in perfectly capable hands when he's done. Maybe he'll stick around for a while. Who knows? Anyway, that was my little tangent on Cedar Rapids. Let's see. So Green Bay won, obviously, and then also, let's see, the Storm won in a big way. They allowed 7 points to the Strike Force. They have locked up their playoff spot as well. I believe that happened a few weeks ago. They're trying to get to maybe the number 2 seed, but I think that might be, well, I don't know. They could still get it. Iowa would need to drop 2, and we'll see what happens. Of course, Tomorrow's going to be our preview day for the weekend, because Thursday we're doing a BattleBots, a robotics division special with Peter Abrahamson. He's one of the production guys in the control room. He's the voice in the ear of everybody in the production. And we're going to get ready for Robot Fighting Time, which premieres this Friday. Let's see here. So Arizona, their postseason will be at is it Gila Arena? Gila Arena, Gila. But I guess they've played there before. This is a portion of Arizona's history that I'm unfamiliar with, so my apologies on that. But that's where the postseason will be. It will not be at Talking Stick Arena. Adam says they lost to San Diego. Basically, Sioux Falls needs to win out to get the 2 seed, so they have to beat Iowa in Iowa, beat Bismarck. Okay, thank you, Adam, for the update. I appreciate that. And that's what I figured as well. Let's see here. In NFL news, Navarro Bowman retired a San Francisco 49er today, so we wish him all the best, and I thank him very much for his dedicated years as a member of the San Francisco 49ers. He was, of course, part of one of my single favorite moments in 49ers history, which was the pick 6 at the Stick, their farewell season, which I got to go down for that season with my wife for our 1-year dating anniversary to the day, 49ers versus Seahawks. And then they go and they're looking for a postseason clinch, and looks like the Falcons are going to score, and Matt Ryan throws this pick and roll, and Bowman is off to the races. Touchdown, 49ers go on to get a home field playoff game, and it was a beautiful thing. I was jumping up and down in my living room. I couldn't have cheered any louder than I did, except for being actually in attendance there. So Bowman retires a 49er. George Kittle says that Jimmy Garoppolo has a sexy cadence. I don't know what that means, but apparently he's got a sexy cadence. The NBA Finals are tied now at 1-1 after the Golden State Warriors got a win over the Raptors in Toronto, and Drake had no comment. Big surprise. So now, Game 3 of the Finals will be tomorrow at Golden State, and the Stanley Cup, those finals are tied at 2-2. Bruins win, Blues win. Bruins win, Blues win. So now we will have Game 5 on Thursday, and that will be in Boston with the Bruins. This is shaping up to be a really good series. But this is Game 5. My argument last week, do we need 7 games to determine a champion? For those of you that are avid hockey fans, would this next game be enough for you to determine a champion, or do you feel like you need 2 more after that? Because this is going to go, to 7 probably, or 6. But do you really need 7? I feel like 5 is plenty. Let's see here. Spokane Wolfpack returned to action. They're home this weekend, June 8th, Saturday, for their Military Appreciation Night. In music news, Bumper Shoot has been announced for the Seattle area. Some notable acts that will be there are the Lumineers and Taking Back Sunday. The rest of the bands, musical artists, I had no idea who they were. And that's kind of the way Bumper Shoot has been lately. In robotics, we have BattleBots premiere this Friday. But first, they're doing this live special on Twitch from Las Vegas, which there is a lot of information in the special and the interview that I did with Peter Abrahamson regarding this event and what it means for the future of BattleBots. So I advise you that if you are a BattleBots fan, you need to check out this special that will air Thursday. Thursday, there will not be a new live episode like we regularly do. It will be a special pre-recorded one, and for reasons I cannot say right now. Let's see here. Oh, congratulations. Bobby Brown, speaking of our next division, which is the outdoors division, Bobby Brown is engaged. So Bobby Brown of Bass Battles and All-Star Bass Fishing, he got down on one knee, popped the question, and she said yes. So congratulations to Bobby and Blossom. They are a very cute couple, and Bobby's an awesome guy, so I wish them all the best. Wrestling news, we have Super Showdown. Nobody cares. We had TakeOver 25, though. I definitely care about that. That was a great pay-per-view. A lot of rumors about who will be the next big AEW signing, and right now CM Punk's name is at the tip of everyone's tongue, so we'll see what happens there. Pop culture news, we had Lilac City Comic Con, and that was a lot of fun. A 2-day event. I've posted a lot of the content, photos, and videos. A few cosplayer spotlight, Darth Maul, and Lego Batman, which were some of my favorites. Rufio was probably my favorite cosplay overall, though, just because that's at my childhood right there. And then also there's a video on the guys who created Wanda the Tauntaun, the 2-scale, lifelike Tauntaun that they had on display for the 501st Legion. and they're a big deal up here in the Pacific Northwest as far as Star Wars and anything like it. They do all kinds of events. They're actually doing another con coming up in a few weeks, Summer Con over in Puyallup, if you're in the Pacific Northwest area. And let's see, in other pop culture news, Chernobyl had its series finale last night. Man, I wish it was going on for more, but I mean, how much more of the story can you tell? That was beautifully done miniseries. If you haven't watched, you need to. Definitely makes up for how lackluster Game of Thrones final season was, so I advise you to go and do that. And let's see here, talking to Bill. Hey, Bill, good to see you. Gila Arena. It is Gila Arena. So it's not a G, or it's not a G. Okay, so the Gila Arena. And Brian's watching. Hey, Brian, good to see you as well. And let's see, shout out to, I just want to make sure I got to everything else. Oh, the Cobras beat the Lions. That's your NAL news, 52-43. So the Cobras bounce back after a loss at home, so they get back in the win column. And we'll talk about the upcoming games for the NAL tomorrow, as well as a preview of the next week for the IFL. Shout out to Kaylee Shade, who had her first treatment for her condition, and it's a new treatment, and she is sore, but she is recovering well. So congratulations to Kaylee. I hope it goes well for you. She's a rock star. She's our our back-to-back winner for Best Media as far as handling the Storms media, and she is awesome. She's helped me out with a lot of stuff as far as website, Photoshop. So if you guys don't know who Kaylee is, you should, because she is amazing. She's definitely somebody that you want to root for, and we at the Fan Show are rooting for you, Kaylee, so we hope that this treatment goes well. And finally, my apologies that it's a bit of a somber note here, but it does need to be talked about because it happened, and it happened in the world of arena sports, football specifically, and that was the sudden and tragic passing of Clayton Banner. Some of you may know he was a scout for the Carolina Cobras. I don't have any details, really. I have heard that he was not in the best of health, and so this may not have been as unexpected for close family and friends, but I saw my news feed yesterday, rest in peace, Mr. Banner, and I was shocked because I have communicated with him a few times, but very sad, very tough loss for the Carolina Cobras. So Cobras family and Cobras Nation, you guys have my thoughts and prayers as you get through this difficult time. But yeah, that really about sums up the headlines. I didn't want to take too much time going over everything because my conversation with Steve Potter is kind of a lengthier one. Great conversation, though. He was the cinematographer or videographer for the Orlando Apollos, and he's actually doing a documentary right now on the AAF, the Alliance of American Football. And he tells a lot as far as the things that it should have been red flags to him with the league, things that they actually told them as staff, things that still haven't happened or maybe have yet to happen. It was a great conversation and a great kind of behind-the-scenes look, a peek behind the curtain of what all went on with the Alliance of American Football. And let's see here. Adam, it is good to see you. Any thoughts on the postseason as far as the IFL goes? We've got 3 spots left, but only 2 teams, or we've got 2 spots left and 3 teams fighting for it, and that is, of course, the Green Bay, wow, I'm way off on my game right now. I'm sorry. Green Bay has clinched a playoff spot. They're fighting for a home playoff game. Win this weekend, I believe, does just that. Then you have 2 playoff spots left and 3 teams fighting for them, the Tucson Sugar Skulls, Nebraska Danger, and the Quad City Steam Wheelers. Quad City's last home game is this weekend. It is their military night, so they're going to be looking to get 1 game closer to a postseason clinch. If they win out, they'd be 7-7, 500. Same with Nebraska. If they win out, they'd be 7-7, 500. Tucson is already above 500, but if they lose out, they would be 7-7 and 500. And I believe that would eliminate them from the postseason, especially considering that their last game of the season is against the Quad City Steamwheelers. Let's see here. Adam chimes in. He says, hard to say for that triple threat for the 2 final spots. Really can't say that any team really controls their own destiny. They do if it's win and you're in. You win out and you're in, because I think each of the 3 teams has that, but they can't all win out, though, is the catch. So all 3 teams, if they win out, they're in, but they can't all win out. So we won't be pinned up against one of those tie-breaking scenarios. If Quad City and Nebraska win out, they're in. If Tucson wins out, they're in, and then I believe by default the last playoff spot would go to Nebraska Danger. So it's going to be 2 of the 3. It's kind of a shell game right now, but with 2 balls instead of just the 1. And hello, Antonio. It's good to see you. Brian says, let's go QC. Yes, it should be a very entertaining stretch of the season here as we get into the last, 2 weeks now? Wow, where does the time go? Where does the time go? It's still crazy that May is over and it's already June. And there's already smoke in the air here in Washington, and it's only June. It's going to be another smoky summer, man. I'm not looking forward to it. Let's see here. Adam says, not going to lie, if CM Punk showed up at AEW, he would be a hard mark. Hello, Antonio and J Hulk. I hope that you guys have had a fun and exciting season. I always see shots of Jaden and his new friend that he brings with him to the game. So they're going to be big, die-hard super fans in the future, and I'm excited for them to carry on the family tradition. And I was thinking about it today. I was a bit of a downer that this year's tour has not been what I had planned and hoped for, but it's not for the reasons like last year as far as missed dates and whatever. I mean, last year I had to cancel going to Green Bay, which I didn't know I was canceling altogether. I had to postpone because we fell behind on some bills, and I needed to make things right and settle up with some things and make sure that our power wasn't going to get shut off and that our car wasn't going to get repossessed, whatever. So I took April off and then got back to it, and I went to the United Bowl, the NAL Championship, and it was great. It really was. A lot of fun. Last year's tour was probably one of the best tours the show has ever had, and there's only been, I think, 3 now. But this year, I've had to reschedule or cancel some trips because I've been hired to do other things. As some of you may or may not know, when I do the tour, that's me paying my way to go places to do what I do because I love going to these places and doing what I do. But when the Wolfpack hires me to be their voice, or when AFE hires me to do play-by-play, I can't not do those. That is the ultimate goal, is for me to get paid to do what I love, and I love doing that stuff. So I was supposed to be in Green Bay May 4th for their superhero night, but that was the first home game of the Spokane Wolfpack, and I didn't think I could be a very good voice if I missed their first home game. Granted, I already missed a game last month because of the AFE event that I got hired to do, and Mrs. Fan Show, Dan Jatiman, filled in great for me, and so I'll be back in the swing of things this weekend for their third home game. But it's tough because you gotta, I mean, I don't know if I would have had more fun at the Green Bay game than at the Wolfpack game, but I got hired to do something that I love doing, and that's the ultimate goal, and so I did that. So my apologies to the fans who I may have let down that wanted me in Green Bay. We're still trying to work on that. At least you guys have a postseason now, and it doesn't come down to the last regular season home game, so I'm hoping to make a post game for you guys, but we'll see, because this is the stuff that's out of my own pocket and that I'm not getting hired to do, and it's tough because when I get hired to do something, they cover my travel costs, which is the big hurdle, right? But then I can also pay some bills for that time that I would miss with my regular day job. But yeah, it's been a very bittersweet sort of year for the fan show as far as the tour goes. I definitely can't believe I've only made one stop. I thought I would have made at least 3 by now, but that's not the case, and so such is life. Let's see here. Antonio, okay. I think I pretty much covered everything. I'm sorry that I didn't have a question for you guys today. I guess the question would be, now that Golden State has tied the series and won in Toronto, is it, Warriors in 5 now? Are they going to pretty much shut this thing out and it's going to be Toronto had their chance and now it's gone. And who's going to win Stanley Cup? It's a series. It's tied 2-2 right now. So you guys are welcome to continue chiming in. I thank all of you for tuning in on this first portion of the show right here on Facebook Live for the Fan Show. Remember, you can subscribe, iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and, of course, Spreaker.com, which is where we're broadcasting to you live as far as audio. And then video is Facebook Live, and you can like us here, which I imagine you have already done. But if you're listening, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and check us out on the Instagram. And yes, we do have a YouTube channel, which is where you can find a majority of the video content, as well as these episodes post to the YouTube channel as well. So there's a way. There's always a way for the Fan Show to get to you. Adam says, question of the day, who do you see showing up in AEW? And hello, Dylan. Dylan's tuned in. Who do I see showing up in AEW? Basically anyone that WWE has called up that they have done nothing with. I mean, there's already been some tweets from their current talent saying contracts are up in a few months. Like, they're counting down the days. And that Talk is Jericho with Jon Moxley probably did not help at all. It really gives you some insight as far as just what goes on behind the scenes and how out of touch Vince McMahon really is. He's done amazing things, but I believe that Vince McMahon is the real-life true testament of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And that is, in a lot of people's mind, what Vince has become is the villain of WWE. He's killing his own creation. Take it for what it may be worth to you. But I think AEW is probably going to get... Finn Balor's kind of on the... he's the Intercontinental Champion, but I think he would really thrive in AEW. But I think EC3, somebody who's probably AEW bound, maybe even Bobby Roode, could be AEW bound. We'll see. It all depends on when their contracts are up and if AEW is even interested in that talent to begin with. I'm sure there's a lot of people they've reached out to and probably had some conversations with, but it's got to work for both sides in order for it to work at all. And for some guys, you know, that paycheck from WWE, even if you're not on live television, is enough to satisfy not being on television. But Moxley said majority of the guys in the wrestling business are not in it for the money. So wherever you can flex your creative juices and get that exercise is probably where you're going to end up. And for a lot of guys that are being underutilized on WWE, that is AEW. And Antonio says, you mean Robert Roode? Yes. Why the name change? I don't know. But anyway, so here we go, guys. I appreciate all of you tuning in, and we will be back tomorrow night with another all-new episode. So go ahead and click the link, switch it over to Spreaker, and enjoy my conversation with the cinematographer of the Orlando Apollos, Steve Potter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now, another Full Sail alum that I had the privilege and the pleasure of meeting while I was down at their Hall of Fame week. He is Steve Potter. How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Doing pretty good. What's your official title? Is it videographer or man of many talents, or what would you say it is you do?
Yeah, really just cinematographer and director is pretty much, kind of like storytelling, that type of thing. That's pretty much what I do. So, yeah.
You were part of a great panel down there during Hall of Fame week because it was, sports media and the market today, and I thought you guys had a lot of really good insight. When did you graduate Full Sail?
I actually graduated in 2018, October of 2018, so fairly recent, to be honest with you.
And in your mind, with how fast media goes, like how much has changed even in that amount of time?
Actually, a lot. Honestly, it's been pretty crazy. One of the things at Full Sail during the panels throughout the week at Hall of Fame and whatnot, Adobe came through and they it's been out for a little while, like in beta, but it's a pretty sweet software called Adobe Rush. And like, for example, you can sync it with your Premiere account or Photoshop account, and you're actually able to do pretty much live video editing from your phone, which is, like, to me, mind-blowing because, obviously you have to have a pretty steep computer to edit, but, just to be able to just chop together a quick little video on your phone, while you're at an event or a game or something of that nature, it's pretty damn impressive. So, just from that, when I took my digital media class at Full Sail, like in 2017 is when I took the class. We didn't have anything like that. It was just, you edit from your computer and that's it. Like, you can never edit from your phone. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, technology is a beautiful thing. It can also be a terrible thing, though, because I'm friends with a lot of photographers, especially, in the sports world, because of the different events I attend, and you always talk to the photographers because they know where to go and position themselves for the best shot. But they're just like, technology is our enemy because people think they can shoot weddings or special events or whatever on an iPhone or an iPad, and it's really, it's not the case. But anybody has a camera in portrait mode thinks that they can go and do all these great things, and they haven't gone through the classes or studied up on, photography. And I have a huge amount of respect for them, like I said, but also not just because I've been down in the trenches with them shooting, but also because as somebody who does a podcast, I know that there's enough technology out there where anyone and everyone thinks they can do a podcast. And now I'm sure in your world, anyone and everyone thinks that they can do cinematography and shoot video and edit video and make it top quality, but that's not the case.
Yeah, man, it's so true. It's like I recently, this past weekend, I shot like a pilot for a film I'm working on to basically, try to use it as like a pilot for funding and whatnot. And it's like I shot everything on cinema lenses, and cinema lenses are like a very unique process. Like you have to actually measure the feet you are from your subject to know what marks you're pulling and whatnot. And one of the guys I worked with, he's a videographer, but he uses autofocus all the time. And just like everybody else does in the video world now, they use autofocus. And like the first couple times he used the cinema lenses, he had no clue what was going on. And, that's not his fault, but it's just like, man, it's just crazy. Like you said, everyone could call themselves a cinematographer, an editor, or a director, or anything like that, and they didn't go through the proper, like, I've been filming, dude, since I was like in 8th grade. So it's like I've been doing it for a long time, and it's like it's gotten to the point now where technology's awesome, but again, it's an enemy because like anyone can go out and spend $1,000 on a camera that shoots 4K, and you're competing with these guys that have been doing this their whole lives. And it's like where these other people, they haven't. They just kind of bought it at Best Buy, and they're like, sick, I'm going to make a movie now. And it's like, that's, that kind of sucks. It defeats the whole purpose of learning and everything like that,
It really does. It's a fine line, and it's certainly a blurred line at that. But, the strong will survive, as they say, because I know my photographer friends, they say it is a tough market, but yet it still pays the bills because once somebody has that one bad experience trying to do it themselves or hire some, intern with a fancy iPhone and all the apps, it's like they learn. They learn the hard way, but they still learn that, you can't really put a price on somebody that makes their living doing that. And I've seen a lot of guys that I've had even as guests on my show 1 or 2 times, they go and they try to start their own thing, and after like 4 or 5 episodes they throw in the towel because either their quality is bad or they can't figure this out or they don't know how to do this. And it's like, don't get into something because you think anyone can do that. Like, you need to respect the business. You need to respect the process above all.
Yeah, no, like, perfect example, my father, he's been in the mortgage business for almost 30-something years, and I would never try to even cross that boundary to get into what he does because when I see the paperwork that he works on, it's an absolute nightmare. So I couldn't even imagine. And again, him doing what I do, it's like I'm sure he wouldn't try to be a cinematographer just because he can shoot a video on his iPhone. But it's like, it's again, you got to respect people's talent and what they've spent their whole lives trying to perfect their craft. I wouldn't go out and try to build a deck. I've never built anything in my life. It's just, you got to respect the people and their craft and kind of follow it that way in a sense,
So you're Full Sail alum, and you were back shortly after graduating. What does that mean to you to get the call to say, hey, can you come do this panel and have a pretty colorful panel up there as far as you had an entrepreneur, you had a woman in the industry, and then you had a guy who's kind of been at every level of a front office for a sports team that you can be with Joe Zolo, and then you have you who's kind of a behind-the-scenes guy now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, when they called and asked if I could come back, like, Full Sail is like in my personal opinion, it's one of the greatest places on earth. I mean, it's the type of school that will give you the ability to create anything you want to, no matter what industry you're in. And, for them to obviously see what I've been doing and agree, I guess you could say, like, in a sense, believe that I know what I'm doing, for just a chance to have me come back and talk. And, it was absolutely awesome. It was super cool.
Yeah, what I think was great is that everybody, it seems like they have a certain level of respect for one another. I mean, it's hard to get everybody to get along and like each other, especially because I was joking with Angela. I said, the sports people are almost the outcasts at a school like that, and that's just unheard of. Normally they're the jocks, and granted, they're not athletes. They're people that are involved in the sports industry, but still, it was just very eye-opening for me to walk along that campus and see all these different artists and things, and you could pick out the sportscasters and the sports people in an instant because they always had a suit jacket on or they had a full-blown suit. And Angela was like, yeah, it's been an adjustment for us here, but you can always pick them. And I think Steve kind of blends in with all of the different categories. But, yeah, he's rolling around here somewhere. and it's great that you guys can all get along like that, so that's good, though.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Like I said, I grew up playing sports. So, and then obviously once I realized I couldn't play professional sports full time, it was like, what's the closest thing I could get to being with the athletes and being a part of that. And for me, that was videography. You know what I mean? It's like, you're in the locker rooms with the guys, you're in the fucking tunnel before they run out. I mean, it's like literally you can't get any closer besides being an athlete. So, it's probably the coolest thing I could do besides, again, being an athlete.
Absolutely, man. So you are one of the few people I know on this kind of level to get you on the show that was involved with the AAF, the Alliance of American Football. And I was heartbroken. I really was, to see it fold up shop like it did, because I gave it at least a full season, and for them to not even be able to pull that off, because I'm thinking, if your goal should be to learn from the XFL's mistakes, and here they've probably learned from their own. They're coming back next year, but they went a whole season. They crowned a champion. They had a championship, and I mean, there was a lot of struggle along the way, but I really believed that this was going to be different. And so you were there, you were part of it. Like, what was that like being, it was the Apollos, correct?
Yeah, I was one of their videographers. There was two of us. And so, I mean, it was kind of crazy because, like, I was the first videographer brought on. So literally, like, the day I graduated Full Sail, I started working for them that next day. So
wow.
It was nuts. And I had my whole family. It was like 20 people come in for graduation. They rented a house, and it was like one big party week. But it sucked that week. I was starting work, so it was kind of crazy. But it was cool, man. Like I got brought in as like a freelance guy for one shoot. They did their logo release date for the Alliance, and it was like each city rolled out the logos, the names, all that kind of stuff. And that was my first shoot with them. And I was a freelancer at the time, and I was still in school. So it was sweet. Like, I was super pumped about it. But, I was like telling my dad, and like, my parents are super supportive of what I do. My dad was just like, I don't trust everything you're hearing yet, man, because, he's seen the USFL, he's seen the XFL, and they were a circus, in a sense. And he was like, I don't want you to sink all your marbles in one basket. And I'm like, oh, you're an idiot, man. Like, you don't know what. I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I was there today. They pump a ton of money in this. I was super pumped about it. And then literally, 9 months later, he was right. So, it was just kind of crazy. It was like, from the beginning, I was really thinking, like, this is going to be something that's going to work. They just seemed like they did everything right. And it was just, I was obviously wrong. So it kind of sucked, but it was cool being a part of it from the beginning, and obviously being a part of it till the end too. It was pretty cool.
And it's funny you say that, being a part of it for the beginning and the end, because I don't know what the future holds, if anything, for it. But it was funny because you mentioned, how sold you were on it and how skeptical your dad was. And it's like, that was me. Like, I was sold. And it wasn't just like because I try to be the eternal optimist and I see something new that could be, that step in between college and the pros for guys that maybe weren't quite there yet. Because I know a lot of those guys at the arena and the indoor football level. They just want a chance, They just want to be able to get on that stage and just show what they've got. But I was so for this, and it was the marketing of it. It was like they had the right names and the right faces in all the right places, and then the marketing of it as far as the promotion and the logos and the teams and the markets, the cities that they were in. I was like, this is going to work. They've learned from past mistakes with other leagues. This is going to work. And I went down to Fort Worth, Texas, first week of January to do media for the College Gridiron Showcase. And the guy who runs it, Jose Jefferson, who I know and trust more than anything, who's been around developmental type leagues like arena and indoor football. And I said, man, I'm so excited for this. You got to start getting some of these teams to send their scouts to this. And he's like, it looks great. I'm not going to lie. It looks great. But who is signing the checks? And that was his only question. That was literally his only question. And this thing hadn't even really gotten into the thick of it yet, because it was going to premiere after the Super Bowl. But that was his only question, was who is signing the checks? It's
That's
crazy.
Still my question to this day, man, to be honest with you. I'm still wondering that myself. I haven't gotten paid in the last 2 months I worked there. And
wow.
Even a little bit, part of the time my checks were spotty when they would come in, a couple here, a couple there. We're switching payroll systems or some, stupid ass excuse like that. And so I'm still, me and your buddy are on the same page. Who's signing these checks? That's a great question.
But it's just, I don't know if that's a difference in generations or just a difference of experience. Because your dad obviously was skeptical. Jose, who's been around this type of thing, was skeptical. But you and I, we were sold, and we were optimistic about something new. We wanted to see something sort of change the game and maybe even be a part of it. And obviously you were, and you're not going to trade that experience for anything. But it's just crazy how different people from different eras will see things as far as, their one question is who's signing the checks, where mine was like, how big can this get?
Right. Yeah. No. And honestly, man, I think you're right. Like, it is a generational thing because I think the biggest thing is about, like, my personal opinion. I think the biggest thing is again, I hate using this term because I kind of fall into this category, but it's the millennial market. Like, everyone can start a business in today's time. If you have the access to the internet, you can start a business. So it's like back then in the 80s and and then the XFL, and then in the 90s, early 2000s, it was a lot harder because marketing was more expensive. Everything was more expensive back then to do stuff because not everyone could market a business or pay $2,000 for a Facebook ad that could reach 50,000 people. It was just a lot different times. And then now it's like everyone can do that. Like, you can go online and market a business and turn it into an overnight success. So I really thought that's what had it going for them. And it was like, you're right. They had all the right faces. They had a good public media front. But again, I mean, at the end of the day, you need money to do something. You need money to do everything. And they just clearly didn't have money to do it. So that was pretty plain and simple.
Yeah, and I can't believe that they pulled the "we switched payroll systems" line on you, because that's such like a 2010 thing, I mean, that's something that you said 10 years ago and people believed it, but now it's like, no, it's 2019. There's no way that's going to be your excuse.
And the worst thing was is like, I was watching an interview with Charlie, and he went on Fox Sports Radio, and they asked him the same question, like, dude, what happened after week one? And then Charlie's response was, oh, we had some issues with our payroll, and they just the checks. So I mean, it's not I was just told that to keep quiet. He went on an international market to say that. Oh yeah, man, we just had issues with payroll and whatnot. Dude, come on. Like you said, it's so 2010. No one would really. I just didn't think he would ever go on public record saying we had issues with our payroll, because everyone knows that's just BS. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's back in the dating scene. That's the you're Mr. Right now, but not quite Mr. Right, or whatever they say. It's
exactly.
a line you've heard. It's not me, it's you. There we go. That's the. But you're going to do a documentary on this, right? Is that the rumor that I heard that's true? And
yes,
how much of that I'll let you, explain as much as you want, but how much of it will be your own account of things, and then how much digging and, interviews of different, I guess, player and personnel? What are we going to see from this?
So far, kind of how it all came about was once I realized the league's going down and I'm not getting a paycheck, and it was this whole time, I used all my own equipment. I was running their weekly videos, you know what I mean? On social media, the weekly game recaps. Like, I was editing all of it, shooting most of it. Like, obviously, again, there was another guy, but I mean, it was stuff I worked on. So, I mean, I knew a lot of what was going on. So I have just so much footage that I was like, dude, half of this stuff will never get seen. So I'm like, before ESPN jumps on it or another big time market that's going to kind of stray away from what really happened, I want to do it. So I was just like, all right, man, I got all the stuff I need. I'm going to get to it. So I started reaching out to people, a couple players that are friends of mine. They were like, hell yeah, man, let's do it. So they were like my first interviews. And then I started reaching out to some staff and whatnot. And they, it kind of started trickling down the line, like people hearing about it. So I did one interview with an attorney. His name's Darren Heitner. He was a Forbes sports business journalist. He's written for Inc. magazine, a bunch of big names and whatnot. So I did an interview with him down at his office in Miami, and he was really big. Him and another gentleman by the name of Darren Ravel. They were real big when the AAF was crashing. Basically, they were calling out Charlie Ebersol on his bullshit, like on Twitter, like live as it was all going down. So I was like, this guy really knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to reach out to him. He was super cool. He hit me back right away. It was like, yeah, man, I'd love to be in it. So right after we did our interview with Darren, and mind you, this is after we've done an interview with a team president, a couple staff members, players, and whatnot. And I kind of thought that's all I was going to get because a lot of people were iffy about talking about it and talking about what went on, and some people weren't. But Darren set me up with a guy who owns Leverage Media Agency up in New York, and he actually was the marketing company who did all the AAF's marketing when they first launched the league. So prior to the logo release and stuff like that, before the AAF hired internal people to do marketing, this guy's firm ran it all, and they owe him like a ton of money. So his lawyer is the guy I interviewed. So they were like, man, we really want to make a documentary too, so let's partner up. So I recently, started working with the guys over at Leverage, and the guy who owns his name's Ben Sterner. He's an awesome dude. So we're going to be, working together to bring this thing to life. So, which is super exciting. So I really can't wait to see it all come together. But so far, like I said, we've had team presidents, we've had 4 players, and sometime next week I'm sitting down with one of the players who's actually leading the class action lawsuit against the league. So I'm super pumped to hear like his response to everything. So,
wow.
So I'm really excited to, see where this thing goes in the future.
Now, how much of it will be like your raw footage that you took and that you did, and how much more did you have to go and get?
A lot of it's actually going to be my raw footage. I mean, most of it is obviously for copyright purposes. Since like they, didn't pay me and it was all on my equipment. Like, they don't now we don't have to go out and buy footage from someone. So it's like, we got all the ingredients to make a film. So, that's usually the hardest part of making a film is like acquiring the rights to the media. You know what I mean? And getting the footage from various media accounts. So fortunately, we didn't really have to do that. I mean, obviously there's some stuff we're going to go out and retrieve from other people, and there was other people that shot for different teams and whatnot. But a lot of it is going to be, my stuff, which is I'm super excited to, actually see it come to life and people use it for the right reasons. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I'm pretty hyped about that. Yeah.
Well, I'm super psyched for it. It's funny though that you mentioned like the different stands that different members of the higher ups took on certain things, because there was a member of the Twitter community for sports, I think it was Benjamin Albright. He gets a lot of Twitter heat, and he said when there was that interview saying that they might not make it past the next 2 weeks because they were trying to get the the NFL Players Association to let them use certain practice squad players. And he tweeted, for those of you hitting the panic button, this is a classic business move. Anytime you're trying to get somebody to budge, you wouldn't come out and actually say stuff like this if it was true. And then when it turned out to be true, he took so much heat, but he wasn't backing down from it. So it's just interesting, people that make their, assumptions and their predictions about things. And then like when it comes time to own up, it's like they're nowhere to be found.
No, hell yeah, dude. Like, it was crazy because my boss said the same thing. I was like, and I just got booked at the time we had an away game. I got booked to do a commercial for NYU. And I was kind of like, and this was after the whole thing with, it came out about if we don't have the NFL's backing, we're done. So I was kind of concerned, like, should I take some time off to go do this commercial? Because, like, this could be the start to my freelance business if the league crashes. And he was telling me like, oh man, don't, because it's like, the league's not going to crash. Like, same thing. It's a standard business practice. Like, no one would go out and say, hey, man, I'm folding the league if I don't get – no one would bark at the NFL like that if they really need their help. So, fortunately, I decided, hey, I'm going to take some time off. I've been working since October. I really want to do a commercial. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go up to New York. And literally I got back from New York, and I'm like 2 days later, like the league – no, it wasn't 2 days. It was probably like a week later. Because while I was up in New York, that's when the AAF acquired Johnny Manziel. And when that happened, I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? My boss is right. There's no way they're going to get Johnny Manziel and then just pull the plug. And literally, like, that weekend, it was all over. And I was just like, holy shit. So it was crazy.
Yeah, it was a wild ride, and I'm sure your documentary is going to be awesome, especially since you were there and, you heard. They say that it's the people that work in the dark that see everything, and you were somebody that was behind the camera that probably heard everything,
I've heard it all, man.
Yeah, so, hey, I'm super excited for that, and I'm sure that we're going to talk more, especially as it gets closer to you having that done, and then once it comes out. But any help you need, let me know. I don't know how I can help, but anything that I can do from my end. Man. But hey, good luck with that. It was an honor and a pleasure to meet you down at Full Sail, and I'm sure that we'll talk again real soon, man.
No, of course, dude. I really appreciate you having me on.
He is Steve Potter, cinematographer and videographer of the once AAF, and hopefully much bigger and better projects to come. But he's also, most importantly, a Full Sail alumni, and I definitely thank you for your time, man. You have a good rest of your night.
You too, man. Thanks, guys.
And once again, a big thank you to Steve Potter for making an appearance here on the show. All the Full Sail alum, they're just really nice and awesome people. You can tell they genuinely care about the betterment of Full Sail students, because it's like, we can do this, you guys can do this too. It's not cutthroat like, hey, we're coming, you guys are coming for my job, and we're just not about that. They're about, people helping people. It's very powerful stuff. And that is the end of the Tuesday edition of the Fan Show. So I thank you all once again for tuning in. We've got something for every fan, because everyone's a fan of something. Everyone's a fan of something, and we have something for every fan. That's the way that it's supposed to be, but either way works. This is the Fan Show. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for tuning in, and remember, until next time, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.